The hum of the engine cuts through the silence, a low, constant sound, like a metallic breath that does not rest. The morning light enters through the plane's windows, but it doesn't warm up at all. It just illuminates. Passengers look ahead. Some play with their cell phones, others pretend to sleep. But there's something in the air, something that no one has yet named. The flight attendant is standing in the aisle, her uniform impeccable, but her shoulders tense. She doesn't smile. His eyes go from one passenger to the next, looking for something, or someone, that can help. No one looks up. Lips tightened, breathing controlled. She knows something is wrong, but he still doesn't know what to do. Further ahead, a man in a dark gray polo shirt moves in his seat. Thick neck, broad shoulders, fists clenched over the knees. He breathes through his nose, as if holding anger. The man isn't just angry. He's looking for a reason to explode. Across the hall, sitting at the window, a man with long hair tied up and a dark beard watches everything in silence. Steven Seagal. He doesn't move. He does not look directly at the aggressor, but his eyes capture every detail. The posture, breathing, the rhythm of fingers tapping. He's seen it before. Seagal recognizes the pattern and knows exactly what comes next. The flight attendant approaches the man in the gray polo. Low, polite voice. "Sir, do you need anything?" He doesn't answer. He just looks up. And in that look, there is contempt. The whirring of the engine continues. But now, the silence among people weighs more than the sound of the turbines. Something is about to break, and everyone feels it. Not every storm warns you before it starts. But there are always signs in the air. The man with long hair tied up, Steven Seagal. He is sitting at the window, body slightly leaning back, but not relaxed. There is control in every muscle. Your hands rest on your legs, open, visible, with no apparent tension. But those who look carefully notice, the fingers are slightly curved, ready. He wears a dark beaded necklace around his neck, time-worn wood. Each account seems to carry a story, a breath, an ancient discipline. Calm eyes, almost empty, not of weakness, of intentional emptying, like still water that reflects everything but does not move. In the background, the man in the gray polo shirt raises his voice. "This is absurd. Do you think I pay for this service to be treated like this?" The commissioner tries to calm down. "Sir, please keep your tone. Don't tell me what to do." The attacker is not talking to the flight attendant. He is talking to the entire plane. He wants an audience. Seagal does not turn his head, but his eyes move, just enough to capture the scene in the reflection of the window. He sees everything without looking directly. The posture of the aggressor, the right hand closed, the chest was inflated, and something deeper, fear disguised as anger. Seagal recognizes the type, someone who screams because he is afraid of being ignored. He closes his eyes for 2 seconds. Take a deep breath. Expand your chest. Release the air slowly. As one who prepares the body not to act, but not to act. There is power there, but it is contained power, like water behind a dam. A passenger next to him whispers to his wife, "This guy over there seems too calm. He even looks like a monk." She answers low, "Maybe it is. Or maybe you've seen worse." Seagal's lips do not move, but there is a small gesture. He adjusts the necklace of beads, touching each one with his fingers, as if counting mantras in silence. It's not nervousness. It's anchoring. In the background, the man in the gray polo stands up. The corridor gets smaller. It takes up too much space, not for the body, but for the energy it carries. The commissioner takes a step back. Seagal does not move, but something changes in the air around him, as if his silence began to weigh more heavily than the others' scream. The camera moves away. 2 men. One screams, the other breathes. And suddenly, the audience realizes the real danger does not come from those who make noise. True strength does not need to announce. It just exists, quietly, until it is needed. The man in the dark gray polo. He is standing now, in the hallway, broad shoulders, tense jaw, veins bulging in the neck. But the camera doesn't show strength. It shows disguised fragility, close up in your eyes. Dilated pupils, quick blinks. He seeks validation. He looks at the passengers around, hoping that someone will agree, that someone will support him. No one holds their eyes. Everyone deviates. And this irritates him even more. He doesn't want to fight. He wants to be seen. But no one is looking at it the way he needs it. He raises his voice again. Do you think I don't know my rights? I pay for this place. The flight attendant tries again, a firm but polite voice. Sir, I understand your frustration, but I must ask that you don't understand anything. He steps forward, invading her space. The flight attendant retreats, eyes wide. The camera captures the moment. He likes it. He likes to see the fear on her face. For a second, he feels powerful. A woman holds her husband's hand. A businessman looks away from his cell phone. A teenager films discreetly. No one intervenes. And this feeds the aggressor. He interprets silence as permission, as if the whole world is agreeing that he is right. And something is clear underneath the anger. There is panic. Eyes tremble. The jaw tightens too much. Breathing is short, uncontrolled. He's not in control. He's trying to appear in control and failing. He looks around again. Look for a target. Someone who returns the gaze. Someone who challenges. Because without confrontation, he has no purpose. And then he sees Steven Seagal, seated, property, looking out the window, as if none of that mattered. The man in the gray polo shirt feels something burn in his chest. It's not anger, it's humiliation, because being ignored hurts more than being confronted. He takes 2 steps in the direction of Seagal. Hey, you there. Seagal does not move. I'm talking to you. Nothing. The man in the gray polo shirt grits his teeth. His right hand closes into a fist. He needs that reaction. He needs someone to face him, because without it, it disappears. Seagal sees it all, but he doesn't turn his head. He just adjusts the beaded necklace, fingers slowly sliding over each one, like someone who counts to 10, or even 1,000. The aggressor goes 1 step further. Now he is next to Seagal. The camera closes in on both of them, one standing, inflated, desperate for attention, the other sitting, empty, anchored in silence, and the audience feels it. This man is not a villain. He is someone who has never learned to exist without screaming. Arrogance is just fear dressed in noise, and silence unmasks it better than any response. Have you ever seen someone scream just to be noticed? Leave it in the comments. The man in the gray polo stands next to Seagal now, so close that his shadow covers the face of the seated man. He breathes loudly, chest rising and falling. Wait for Seagal to look. Let him react. That gives him what he is looking for. Confrontation. But Seagal keeps looking out the window, as if the man next to her was just another noise on the plane, insignificant, temporary. And that burns. The aggressor leans in, low voice, but full of venom. You think you're better than everyone here, do you? Seagal blinks slowly. It does not answer. The man leans more. I'm talking to you, man. Did you hear me? Nothing. Seagal's silence is not passive, it is strategic. He knows that not responding is the greatest provocation. The aggressor's face turns red, hands tremble. He no longer knows if he is angry or afraid that he is losing. Missing what? He himself does not know. But he does. So he does the unthinkable. Raise your hand. And he pushes Seagal's shoulder, strong. Seagal's body sways slightly to the side, but he doesn't react. He just turns his face, slowly, very slowly. And look, in Seagal's eyes, there's no anger, there is no challenge, only observation, as if he were studying an injured animal, calculating how much time you have left before attacking yourself. And in that gaze, the aggressor sees something that freezes him inside. He sees that it doesn't matter, that everything he's done so far, the screams, the gestures, the invasion, means nothing to the man in front of him. The aggressor realizes, for the first time, that he is not feared. It is ignored, and that hurts more than any scam. Seagal speaks, low voice, calm, serious. Are you sure you want to continue? It is not a threat. It's a real question. like a teacher offering the student a chance to step back before learning the hard lesson. The man in the gray polo shirt hesitates. Just for a second. The shoulders recede, the eyes blink fast, the mouth opens, but no words come out. He wanted to be challenged, but he was not prepared to be seen. So, like a cornered animal, it reacts in the only way it knows how. Advances. He raises his fist, and he punches the air, which Seagal deflects with a minimal movement of his head. The scam passes. The aggressor loses his balance, stumbles, and he fell to his knees in the hallway. Some of the passengers cover the mouth, others look away. The teenager continues filming. The flight attendant freezes, hand on chest, and Seagal does not get up. He just turns his face back to the window, as if nothing had happened. The man in the gray polo shirt is on his knees, breathing heavy, looking at his own hands. And for the first time, he doesn't feel angry. He feels ashamed. True humiliation doesn't come from being knocked down. It comes from realizing that you've knocked yourself down. Seagal continues to look out the window. But something has changed. Your eyes are not empty. They are watching, measuring, calculating. He inhales deep through his nose. Count mentally. 1, 2, 3, 4, safe. Released through the mouth. 5, 6, 7, 8. It is an old technique, practiced 1,000 times in silent dojos, on icy mountains, in empty rings. Breathing is not just about surviving. It's keeping control when everything around calls for explosion. His hands, still open, still relaxed. But now, the fingers move slightly, as if testing their own patience. He is not afraid of the man on his knees in the hallway. He is afraid of himself, of what he could do if he let discipline slip for a second. Seagal knows that the real fight is not against the aggressor. It is against the temptation to respond in kind. He closes his eyes, and for a moment, he is no longer on the plane. It's somewhere else. Another time. Quick flashback. Only sounds and sensations. The noise of a tatami mat creaking under his bare feet. The deep voice of a Japanese master, speaking slowly. The force that destroys is easy. The force that protects demands everything from you. The sound of a blocked coup. The silence that comes after. Seagal opens his eyes. Back to the present. The hum of the engine. The morning light. The smell of reheated coffee. And the man on his knees in the hallway, breathing like a wounded animal. Seagal could have finished it in seconds, but he chose not to end. He chose to let the other feel the weight of his own actions. It adjusts the beaded necklace, fingers sliding slowly, one by one. Each account is a souvenir. Each account is a mistake he has made in the past. Every bill is a lesson that cost blood, sweat, or broken pride, and he knows. That man in the gray polo shirt is learning now what it took him years to understand, that the most dangerous enemy is not the opponent. It is the ego. The flight attendant approaches, trembling voice. "Sir, are you okay?" Seagal turns his face to her, and for the first time he smiled. It's not a smile of victory. It is the smile of those who recognize the fear in the other and choose not to feed it. "I'm fine. Thank you." She hesitates. "And him?" Seagal looks at the man on his knees. Then he turns his gaze to the commissioner. "He'll be fine too. It only takes a minute." The camera moves away. It shows the aisle of the plane. Passengers still tense, some whispering, others in silence, and at the center of it all, two men, one on his knees, breaking inside, the other sitting, holding the whole world with his breath. Seagal turns his face back to the window, and he thinks, without saying, "How many times have I been this man on the ground?" The answer echoes within him, more times than I care to remember. The true master is not the one who has never fallen. He is the one who has learned not to make others fall in the same way. The plane is no longer quiet. Whispers begin to leak through the seats. Heads turn, eyes meet, and something spreads through the air. Collective awareness that something serious has just happened. A woman in the front row. She holds the cell phone with both hands, trembling. It's not filming. He is thinking about who to call, if you should call, if it's safe to turn on. Next to her, her husband puts his hand on her shoulder. Calm down. It's over. But she shakes her head. It's not over yet. Look at him. The man in the gray polo continues to kneel in the hallway. But now, it is not standing still. He moves, slowly, hands on the floor, the head down, heavy breathing, and something in his body changes. It is not surrender, it's recharging. The audience notices. He hasn't given up. He's getting ready to try again. A passenger in the background stands up. Middle-aged man, rumpled suit, determined look. He takes 2 steps down the hall. Then it stops. Look at Seagal. Look at the aggressor. And he hesitates. The camera closes in on his face. He wants to help, but he doesn't know how. Intervening can get worse. Not intervening can be cowardice. So he stands there, paralyzed between 2 impossible choices. The flight attendant takes a deep breath. She knows what she needs to do. He approaches the aggressor, a firm but trembling voice. "Sir, I need you to go back to your seat. Now." He doesn't answer. He just lifts his face, and the look he returns is not one of regret. It is of renewed fury. The shame he felt did not turn into humility. It turned into anger against those who humiliated him. Across the hall, the teenager still holds his cell phone. The screen is recording. The image on the cell phone. The angle is shaky, but it captures everything. The man on his knees, Seagal immovable, the passengers tense. And in the comments of the live broadcast, messages begin to appear. Someone calls the police. "This guy is crazy." "Who is the man sitting?" The teenager reads. And he feels the weight. He's not just filming. He is witnessing, and perhaps, unintentionally, climbing something you can't control. The camera goes back to Seagal. He feels everything. The hum of voices, the growing tension, the energy changing direction. He doesn't look back. But your muscles adjust. Imperceptible to most. But those who know fighting recognize he is ready. Not because he wants to, because it needs to be. The man in the gray polo stands up, slowly, creaking knees, closed fists, jaw locked. The commissioner takes 2 steps back. "Sir, please, shut up." Silence. The faces of the passengers expresses fear, not what he will do, but that no one will be able to stop him. And then, something unexpected. A voice comes from the back of the plane, serious, steadfast, calm. "This doesn't have to continue. Everyone saw it. He is the man in the rumpled suit." He took another step forward, not bravely, but with decision. And in this gesture, something changes in the air. The attacker is no longer alone with Seagal. Now, there are active witnesses, and the audience inside the plane begins to wake up. The man in the gray polo looks around, and for the first time, he sees faces staring back, not afraid, with disapproval, tired, with silence that says, "Enough." Courage doesn't have to scream. Sometimes you just don't look away. What about you? Would you sit or step forward? Comment here. The man in the gray polo looks around. He sees the faces, see the silent judgment, and something inside him cracks for good. It is not reason that moves him now. It's desperation. He takes a deep breath. Close your fists. And he makes the decision. If it's going to fall, it's going to fall making noise. If he is going to lose, he is going to lose trying to prove that he still has power, even if it is the power to destroy oneself. He turns to Seagal. Take a step forward, then another. Every step resonates in the hallway. Thud, thud, thud. Passengers hold their breath. The flight attendant retreats until she touches the wall. The man in the rumpled suit opens his mouth, but cannot speak. The attacker stops next to Seagal, raises his right arm, clenched fist, veins popped, and then, with everything he has, he delivers a direct punch to Seagal's face. But the coup never comes. Seagal does not move. He just raises his left hand. A minimal movement, precise, and it locks the fist in the air, like someone holding a stone that fell from the sky. Effortlessly. No rush. The attacker tries to pull his arm back. He can't. Try again. Nothing. It is as if Seagal's hand were made of iron. He tightens more. He twists slightly. Not to hurt, just to control. And in the eyes of the aggressor, something changes. Fear. Real fear. He realizes, too late, that he has chosen the wrong man. And now there is no turning back. Seagal speaks. Low voice. Calm, but loaded with something that makes the air freeze. You had your chance. It is not a threat. It is a fact. Like someone who closes a door that has been open for too long. He lets go of the aggressor's fist, but before the man can retreat, Seagal stands up, slowly, like a mountain that decides to move. The camera follows from bottom to top. First the feet, then the torso, then the face. And when he is fully standing, the corridor becomes smaller. Not because it is big, but because his presence occupies everything. The aggressor retreats one step, then another. He stumbles slightly. His eyes can no longer hold Seagal's gaze, and for the first time, he understands what everyone already knew. This man is not a victim. It never was. Seagal takes a single step forward. It is not aggression. It is firmness. And the aggressor falls sitting on the ground. Not because he was pushed, because his own legs gave up. The camera cuts to the passengers. Some let out the air they were holding. Others cover their mouths. The teenager still films, but now his hand trembles, because he realizes he is recording something that will echo far beyond that plane. Seagal looks down. For the man sitting on the floor, breathing heavily, eyes wide, and then he does something unexpected. He extends his hand, not to attack, to help. The hand remains extended, open, steadfast, waiting. The aggressor looks at her. He looks at Seagal's face, and he sees something he didn't expect to see. There is no anger there. There is no contempt, only patience. But pride still weighs too much. The man looks away, and he pushes Seagal's hand to the side. Get away from me. Broken voice, not strength, of defeat disguised as stubbornness. Seagal retreats, not with regret, with understanding. He's seen it before. The pride that chooses to drown rather than accept the hand that saves. And he knows that there is nothing to do. Just wait. The hardest blow to block doesn't come from outside. It comes from pride itself that refuses to budge. If it were you, would you accept the hand or sink into pride? Leave it in the comments. Seagal takes 2 steps back, not on the run, out of respect for space. At the time that the other needs to process, he returns to his seat, sits slowly, adjusts the beaded necklace, and breathe. But something changed on the plane. The energy is no longer voltage. It's out of curiosity. Passengers begin to look at him differently, not afraid, with recognition. The woman in the front row whispers to her husband, "Wait, I know him." Her husband frowns. "Do you?" "Yes, I know who it is. God in heaven. It's Steven Seagal." The camera cuts to other faces. Someone opens their eyes. Another pulls out his cell phone and starts researching. And little by little, the information spreads through the plane like a silent wave. The man who was attacked is not just any victim. He is one of the greatest living martial arts masters. The teenager in the background stops recording, put down the phone, and he mutters to himself, "Dude, that idiot tried to beat Steven Seagal." He looks at the man in the gray polo, still sitting on the ground. And for the first time, he feels sorry. Not what happened, of what could have happened. The flight attendant approaches Seagal. Low, almost reverent voice. "Mr. Seagal, I didn't know. Sorry, I didn't." He raises his hand, gently. "You did what you could. No one should have to deal with this alone." She swallows hard, nod, and for the first time since the situation began, she breathes a sigh of relief. Because he realizes he never needed help. He just chose not to destroy. The man in the rumpled suit. He's still standing in the hallway. Look at Seagal, then to the aggressor. And then, slowly, he returns to his seat. Because you understand, the lesson has already been given, and it was not given with violence. It was given with control. The audience realizes that true power is not in dominating the other. It is in dominating oneself. The man in the gray polo. He is still on the ground. But now he hears the whispers. Listen to the name, Steven Seagal, and something collapses inside him. He wasn't defeated by a stranger. He was defeated by a legend. And worse, he was defeated by his own ignorance, because of the arrogance of not knowing who he was dealing with, because of the blindness of thinking that shouting loudly was the same as being strong. On his face there is no more anger, just silent shame, and perhaps, for the first time in his life, a flash of lucidity. Seagal looks out the window again. The morning light still comes in, clear, relentless. He sees the reflection of the plane. He sees the passengers returning to their seats. He sees the world picking up the pace again. And he thinks, without saying, how many times have I had to learn this the hard way? He closes his eyes for a second, and he smiles. Not victory, of gratitude, because he learned, a long time ago, that the greatest victory is not defeating the other. It's not having to prove anything. The flight attendant speaks into the intercom, a firm but gentle voice. Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for what happened. The situation is under control. Please remain in your seats as we make our way to the destination. The whirring of the engine continues. Life on the plane returns to normal, but nothing is exactly as it was before. Seagal sitting, motionless, as he always was. The attacker was still on the ground, but now hunched, hands covering his face, and between them, a silence that weighs more than any words. True strength does not need to announce itself. It reveals itself only when necessary, and even then, with compassion. Share this story. Someone today needs to remember that power without wisdom is just noise. The man in the gray polo is still on the ground, hands covering his face, shoulders hunched, irregular breathing. He doesn't cry, but something inside him is breaking, and the sound is silent. His hands, tremendous, not anger, of late understanding. He understands now, everything. Seagal's calm gaze wasn't weakness, it was absolute confidence. Silence was not passivity, it was choice. And he, at the height of arrogance, confused patience with fear. The aggressor realizes that he never had control, just his illusion. He lowers his hands slowly. He looks at the ground. He sees the distorted reflection of his own face on the shiny floor of the plane. And it doesn't recognize those who are looking back, because for the first time in a long time, he sees the truth. He sees the man who screams because he is afraid of disappearing, the man who pushes because he never learned to support himself, the man who attacks because he has never been taught to exist without validation. Some people still stare, but now the looks have changed. It is no longer fear. It's not anger anymore. Is feather, and perhaps something deeper, recognition. Because who there has never felt the temptation to scream when they have not been heard? Who has never confused noise with importance? The public sees in the aggressor not a monster, but an uncomfortable mirror. The man in the rumpled suit whispers to his wife, "Poor thing." She frowns. Poor thing. He started it all. I know. But look at him now. He's noticing. Realizing what? Who chose the wrong fight, with the wrong person, at the wrong time, and perhaps, for the first time, he understood who he really is. Seagal. He is not looking at the aggressor. He's looking out the window, but something on his face changed. There's a softness there, not victory, of compassion, because he was once that man. Not exactly in the same way, but he was once someone who had to be broken to learn. The flight attendant approaches the aggressor. She kneels next to him. Low voice, without judgment. "Sir, I need you to go back to your seat. We can talk there if you want." He looks up. And for the first time, there is no challenge, just tiredness. I don't know what happened. I lost control. She nods slowly. It happens. But now he needs to get up. He takes a deep breath. He puts his hands on the floor, and he gets up, slowly, as someone who carries the weight of everything he just understood. The camera follows the movement, from the knees to the feet, from the floor to the gaze, and when he's fully upright, it looks smaller, not physically, but in presence. As if the inflated ego had finally emptied, he looks at Seagal. It means something. Open your mouth, closes, opens again, but words do not come. Because what he needs to say is too big to fit into sentences. Then he just nods. A minimal gesture, but loaded. Seagal turns his face away. He meets the aggressor's gaze, and he waves back. Not with explicit forgiveness, but with recognition, as if to say, without words, I know, I understand. And that's okay. The man in the gray polo goes back to his seat. Sit. He lowers his head, and he stays there, quiet, processing. But there's something in the air. Something that no one can name, but everyone feels. A lesson has been learned, not just by one man, but for everyone who testified, and in the reflection of the window, Seagal smiles, not pride, of relief, because once again, he chose the hard way, and he saved someone, not with the fists, but with the choice not to use them. The biggest mistake is not choosing the wrong opponent. It's underestimating who you could have been if you had chosen respect. The plane begins to descend. The pilot announces on the intercom, "Ladies and gentlemen, we will begin our descent in a moment. Please make sure your belts are buckled." Life resumes its course, but something remains different. The camera glides slowly down the hallway. Passengers adjust seat belts. They store objects. They prepare for landing. But the looks still carry the weight of what they saw, and in the silence of the plane, a truth echoes. Sometimes the biggest battle happens without a single blow. Seagal remains seated, looking out the window. Outside, clouds slide slowly. The sun is higher now. The light comes in clear, almost violent in its honesty, and he breathes, one last time, profound, complete. As if closing a chapter, the flight attendant passes him. He stops for a second. "Are you okay?" He doesn't look up, but he nods slightly. "I am. Thank you." Hoarse voice, small, like someone who just woke up from a nightmare, and he realized that the nightmare was real. The transformation was not instantaneous, but it began, and that is already a victory. The camera goes back to Seagal. He adjusts the beaded necklace for the last time, fingers sliding slowly, as a closing ritual, and then he speaks, not for anyone in particular, only for himself. We all fight against something. It is not always the other. The phrase remains in the air, loaded with weight, of lived truth, of scars that became wisdom, and the audience feels it. He feels that this story was never about martial arts. It was about dominance, not from the body of the other, but from the inner demon itself. Seagal's real fight wasn't against the aggressor. It was against the temptation to respond with violence. The plane touches the ground. The wheels creak against the asphalt. The sound is loud, but not scary. It is the sound of arrival, conclusion, of life continuing. Passengers begin to stand up. They take suitcases. They check cell phones. They resume their lives as if nothing had happened. But some look back. For Seagal. For the man in the gray polo. And they carry something they didn't have before they got on that plane. Seagal gets up last. Grab your simple backpack from the top compartment. And he walks slowly down the hallway. Passengers move away, giving space, not out of fear, out of respect. And when he passes the man in the gray polo, something happens. The two look at each other, just for a second. There are no words. There are no elaborate gestures, just recognition. The aggressor lowers his eyes first, not in defeat, in reverence, and Seagal follows, without looking back, because the lesson has already been given, and it is not up to him to guarantee that it has been learned. He goes downstairs, step on the asphalt, and he disappears among the airport crowd. Like anyone else. Because in the end, that's what he's always been. Just someone who chose, every day, not to be controlled by the ego. The sound of the airport is fading. Distant voices, Footsteps echoing. Life going on. Soft breath sound. In the end, the hardest victory is never against the other. It's against the version of ourselves that still believes that violence is power. If this story has touched you, sign up. Not by me, but because someone you know needs to remember. Respect is not imposed, it is inspired.